How did you think I did as a heel yesterday?
I like you as a heel. And you'll have to project a little, you know. I like you as a heel. I think that it's a hard habit to break to just be a happy person and have a smile and always have an excuse to like be a positive person. You're a positive person.
Yeah.
So like when people are saying things like, God, you got to quit smiling so much. Well, it's fucking hard.
And that's what I struggled with. Everyone was like, "Quit smiling." I'm like, I don't even know I'm smiling right now.
Yeah.
So
No, when that's just what you do, that's what you do. Some people are just smiley people. Some
yeah,
people are just overall like happy.
yes,
It's tough, you know. But back in like I'd say late 2000s, I don't want to make myself sound too old, but late 2000s, they would be like, if you can't stop smiling, we're just going to put mask on you.
oh, I would
Yeah.
already had a mask
Yeah.
on.
And then like then you have some guys that are just really like they have young faces and it's like you don't look like you should be in the ring right now. You look like you should be working at Sonic. Those guys they would put a mask on too. And like even then like you can look at a person's body and be like that's a young kid,
Yeah.
mostly because they're not limping yet. But that's yeah, I don't know.
Well,
It's hard to force age. You can't make yourself like grow a beard if you can't grow one.
no, yeah.
I didn't have that problem.
Neither,
I was
neither.
15 and I had a mustache. Like everybody thought I was older than I was, you
Really?
know. When I was 17, I was going into the bars with Kevin Sanchez. Like he was I think he was almost 30 and we would go to like the Alley Club. We would go to a couple of like there's a place called the Hard Rock Theater on South
Okay.
Side. It's not there anymore, but there were some wrestling shows there, and like we would just go in. They never ID'd me. They never asked questions.
Nothing.
But just to be safe, like he'd go buy the beer, bring it back to the table for us. But I'd be there all night. Yeah,
At 17?
yeah, no.
Oh,
Well, I started drinking really young anyway.
okay.
Like it wasn't because I needed it. It was just available, so I just drank it. You
Yeah.
know, I had three roommates over 30. So there was always 2 40 packs of Coors Light in the fridge.
So you're like, I help
So dude,
myself.
they didn't give a shit. They were paying me rent, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they just gave me the money and I drank their beer.
Hey, that's a even trade. Even
I
trade.
mean, yeah, it was good times back then. I don't even know what I'm looking for here. That one, turn on wrestling. Oh. So like yesterday, we had like a pretty hectic wrestling show, I think, because
Yeah.
it's a brand new building. And I don't know if I ever told you this. I don't tell most people this. When we go to new venues, if I'm not the one who brokers the deal, I don't go. Like I
Really?
won't go look at it first because I don't want to see it until I get there.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then when I get there, it's like now I can figure out how I'm going to, like where I want to put my stage, where do I want my locker room to be, where do I want the ring to be, and I'll figure it all out in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Because like Kyle's the one who set that up. Kyle Neighbors set up that thing because he plays flag football there, adult
Okay. Oh
football,
wow. That's awesome.
and he was like, they're down to do a wrestling show. They're absolutely good with everything. They're going to give us 2 basketball courts to work with, and I'm like, I don't need both. I just need bleachers because I don't
Yeah.
want to mess with chairs.
Yeah.
First thing that came out of his mouth was, "Are we going to bring chairs?" I said, "No. If they have bleachers,
Let's
I'm going
just
to turn it into an arena, and we're going to box everybody in so that we can get them, far enough apart where they're comfortable, but close enough together where they're kind of sardined in.
yeah.
If you put 200 people in a 2,000 seat arena, it looks like nobody showed up. But if you put 200 people in a basketball gym and you put all the bleachers close together surrounding around the ring, it's a full house.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same money, and we made a great profit on that show. We didn't lose any money. Everybody that needed to get paid got paid. Students ain't getting paid; they owe me money.
Yes.
You know, but everybody who was supposed to be taken care of was taken care of, and I gave most of them extra for tolls too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, not trying to just like make myself look good, but if I can, I'm
You,
gonna, you
yeah.
know. Plus, there's people that come in like Canadian Red Devil's a 20-year vet. If I can throw him a little extra, I will, because he's one of the guys that gave me like my first real like shot. Like when I was like
Ah,
15, he was like, "Yeah, come to Tulsa and you can wrestle on my shows." He wasn't gonna put me over or anything, but he's like, "If you want to get reps, come here." So
that's awesome.
I give him a lot of praise.
Yeah.
He may
Yeah.
not know that, but I have a lot of affection for that dude because he took care of me when other people were telling me to just piss off.
Yeah. Would you say it's now that you've been experienced in the business, do you think it's changed, like that environment changed where you get a mentor and that mentor takes you in and shows you the ropes and get reps and then
Well, I had dozens of mentors. I didn't have any coaches.
okay,
I had I had a dozen people that would give me a tiny little bit of information each.
okay.
So I just kind of had to nitpick and take a little bit of everything and kind of just cram it together and decide what information was good and what was bad. But then I also had, out of those dozen, there would be two people over here, two people over here saying, "Hey, don't listen to that. Hey, don't listen to that." And I would have to go with my gut and trust who I could
Ah,
trust.
okay.
So
Yeah.
there's some people that, you know, they might offer advice that's unsolicited. You didn't really need it, you didn't want it. And then there's other people that you're just desperate to get their attention so that you can ask them a lot of questions
Yes,
and
yes.
they don't have the time to deal with it. And it's like, God, I wish he would just give me 5 minutes of his time. I feel that way now on the other end of the token because, like, after the show last night, I had three people just staring at me, and I finally would turn and say, "What? Did you see my match? No. Well, if you watch it, would you give me a critique? Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm not going to get a chance for a minute. I got 62 things to do right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
There's days where you'll have a wrestler get hurt or you'll have a wrestler that doesn't show up. Like we had everything that could have happened yesterday did. I'm not going to say everything that could go wrong went wrong. I'm going to say everything that could happen happened. We had
Yeah.
two guys no call no show, and I saw one of them had excuses. The other one just is avoiding me. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad at you. Just tell me if you're not coming.
Yeah.
So I have to fill those gaps, which luckily enough, again, credit to Canadian Red Devil, he brought wrestlers with him. And I said, "Hey, boys, I've got matches for you." So we were able to fill empty slots quickly.
Yeah.
But then you have a guy that might get a concussion because of an accident. I don't like botch is kind of disrespectful. Don't want to call it a botch, but didn't go as part of the plan. It didn't go well. So, somebody gets hurt and then you have to make adjustments. And that's scary. You have to think about that person's health.
Yeah.
And then you have other situations like maybe like something really really simple, but it's such a silly mistake. Like poor Ronnie. After the show's over, he gets a nice award. He goes in the locker room. He's trying to hold it up and take a photo with it. He drops it on the floor, breaks the fucking corner of it,
Oh
broke it
no.
into two pieces, and he's so mad. He's so mad. He's like, "I can't believe I did that." And I'm like, "Dude, trophies look expensive, but
Yeah.
they're not." I was like, "I'll get you another one, dude. It's
Yeah.
fine." Like, I already ordered it. I did it at 7 o'clock this morning, so like, it ain't that serious. But yeah, a bunch of things that could go wrong can and do go wrong. But then at the end of the day, you ask the venue, after the trailer's loaded, the floor is swept, everybody's like on their way out the door. We made good time.
Yeah.
You go talk to the venue owner, and it's like, "Hey, like, how'd we do? You guys are awesome. This was great. Are you gonna come back? Oh,
Oh.
can we? Please, yeah, we want to come back. And if they want us, we do.
Yeah.
Especially if we want to be there when it's a big venue like that. It's super nice. The price is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not spending a crazy amount of money. There's some venues that are holes in the wall, dude. They're not good. and they want like $700.
Really?
I can't pay $700 for a room that I can't fit 40 people in.
Yeah.
You know,
No, yeah.
like I can
Yeah.
barely get the ring in here. Why
Yeah.
so much? Maybe
No,
$200.
really, yeah.
No, but there's a couple of different promoters who said it, so I finally started taking that advice. It was like, why not go to places that are going to offer to pay you rather than places that want you to pay them?
Mm.
So that's a good, like, it's a good theory. I mean, like, obviously you want to make money, not spend money, but
Yeah.
it's like I didn't realize those people existed. My bad.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea that there were people out there that would just give me money,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Like, all right, I do it.
But yeah, dude, if we can profit, I'm always going to go that route.
Yeah.
You know, there's a venue out in Stillwater that wanted to do a show, and they contacted us, and they even said that, you know, like, here's what it would cost you to do it. And I'm like, you contacted us. Like, why are you charging us?
Wow.
I would much rather, you know, if you're going to contact me and ask me for my services, like, ask me you
Our
know, what
price.
our price
Yeah.
is. You know, that's going to get a lot more of my attention. Not to mention, if you're like, hey, I'll pay you a flat fee, I'll sell the show to them. They can do what's called a bot show,
Okay.
and then they can sell the tickets and profit from the tickets. You know, like,
Okay.
if especially if it's their door, you know, they'll promote it harder.
Yeah.
If you're dependent on the gate, you're going to try harder to advertise so that you can make money, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to hire entertainment, you're going to pay your entertainers,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it only makes sense.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Um, so as a booker and a wrestler and an owner of a company, I've noticed like over the time that I've seen you, you don't ever really put a lot of focus on your character as a wrestler. Is that
Personally,
personally? Is that because you're a booker and you want like what is your reasoning for that?
it's actually a really good question. I was told, and I've heard this several times. I was told a long time ago that, like, the best version of yourself is you turned up to 11.
Mm,
So, like, if you have an idea, like, say you personally decided that you were going to embrace a really, like, ethnic, cultural, um, like a very, like, specific, you know, like African American, like, historical type.
yeah.
You know, you wouldn't want to be a tribesman and come out with a staff and wear like some Wakanda costume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's not authentic. It's fiction. You know, I actually said that to our friend Tyson James the other day. I said, you know, Wakanda's not a real place, right? And it was almost like it ruined his day. I said, it's not real, dude. Um, but like, every single black kid has the right to want to be Black Panther,
Yeah.
just like every single white kid wants to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's why he exists.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. But I can't shoot webs out of my wrists. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If I can embrace who I am, and if I can make myself likable and approachable and
Mm.
entertaining, I don't have to be something else.
I like
You know,
that.
if you said, "Hey man, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I'm a Christmas elf," I'm like, "Well, that's great, but you're only going to be entertaining 25 days out of the year, and the rest of the year, people are going to wonder why you're dressed like that.
Mm.
Why do you look like that?"
Yeah.
So when you have a guy show up as a caveman from fucking 52 BC, 52 million BC, why are you dressed like a caveman? You drove here in a Honda.
You're right.
Dude, it's just so much better to be you.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I don't want a fake version of you. I want you to go out there and get over and be yourself. It's just like you would in a relationship. You don't
Yeah.
want something fabricated. You want something authentic. And that's the weird thing about, like, relationships, is you don't get to know that person really well until the first or third year.
Yeah.
Like first 6 months are always great.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But then after a while, it's like, okay, motherfucker, why aren't you putting your dishes in the
Yeah,
sink?
exactly.
That shit's only gonna be cool for so long. But if you have anything to fall back on, it's you. Dude, I was a huge Jeff Hardy fan. I was a huge Sting fan. I was a huge Raven fan. I had purple hair, face paint, and a kilt my first 3 years in the business. And people were like, dang, that's original. And I was like, I stole all of it.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is original. My other favorite, when I like my, if you ask me from every era, from the golden era of wrestling, Roddy Piper.
Okay.
From the 90s grunge era, it was Raven. From the early 2000s on, it was Jeff. I liked Matt too, but I liked Jeff. I liked Mick Foley.
Yep.
Mick Foley's my all-time favorite. And
Yeah.
then like when you get into like 2010, 2011, 2012 to today, it's CM Punk. And all these guys have things that are relatable to me.
Mm.
But the difference between those guys and the caveman is typically, and I mean, Raven's a big stretch, but these other guys, they're just being them.
Yeah.
Cactus Jack was the nickname Foley had for his father.
Oh, wow.
Jeff Hardy just likes to paint. He's covered in the shit all the time because
Yeah.
he's an artist. Mick Foley was just Mick Foley most of the time. He just had a different mask on or a different shirt. And like Dude Love was his backyard wrestling character.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I read all of his books, dog. He's got 6 of them,
Oh,
and
wow.
one of them's a Christmas story. But no, that's the deal. It's like he's got just all these things that came from his own personal life,
Mm.
you know. And then like CM Punk, he's an authentic guy. He's just like, I'm just gonna be me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be me. I'm going to be unfiltered, and I'm not gonna censor myself or speak on things that I don't know. I'm gonna focus on what is real to me, and that is the most relatable thing in the world, and that's probably why that man sells so many
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Yeah.
So that'd be my reason. I mean, and like, you don't necessarily just want to be like, if you're just like a dude that works at the hobby store and you're a big fan of comic books and Funko Pops and all that kind of stuff, and you can't, like I'll put it to you this way, like the guy who runs the comic shop, you know I don't know if he'd get over or not. So if he's too authentic, he might run some people off.
Yeah.
You can organically run people off,
Yeah.
and it's possible to just be unapologetic but also unfriendly. There's
Mm.
some people out there that are just like, I'm gonna speak my mind, I'm gonna say what I'm thinking, I'm always gonna be honest, and it's gonna piss people off. And I'm one of those people. I've done that a lot.
So,
I've hurt some feelings, you know.
so when you say that, but I feel like everywhere you go, the fans, like you said, can relate to you. Do you think you just hover on that like borderline
Well, it's
sometimes?
also an interactive sport. It's reacting, not acting.
Okay.
So when you talk to a fan at, say you're at your gimmick table during an intermission or a pre-show signing or whatever, and you just meet these people and they ask you questions about yourself, you're not going to tell them some fake storyline things about yourself. You just tell them the truth. Tell
Okay.
them where you're from, how long you've been in the business, any questions they might ask, what's your influences, things like that. Because if your favorites are their favorites, you've got something in common,
Okay.
and then you build a connection with those people, and then they like you a little bit more.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do when I was working Salina, Kansas, a lot of old folks and farmers out there.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people that are coming with the walkers and the wheelchairs. And I'd look at a lady and I'd say, boy, you look like you spent a night with Ricky Morton.
Yo.
And the smile that you would see on these older women, either they did or they wish they did. They're just like, man, he knows old wrestling. Because Ricky Morton's famous for
Yeah.
having a kid in every county.
Oh, wow.
It's a turn of phrase, but like, man, you might have like, that's the thing with Ronnie. He's like, I don't know if we're cousins, but we might be. That's the same thing Ricky would say. He'd be like, yeah, probably. Got a lot of kids, so it's possible.
Oh wow.
You share a last name, doesn't necessarily mean you're blood related or
Yeah.
even married to someone, but there's a good chance. You know, there's not a lot of people with the same last name I have, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I've only met one person I wasn't related to who had my last name in
Really?
30 years. You know, but like if you have a common name like Johnson or Lewis or uh, you know, Smith, you know, there's you might meet several.
Yeah.
You know, it could happen. It you know, and it's the other thing about first names too. It's like how many Chris's do you know?
A
How
lot.
many Davids do you know?
Yeah.
There's tons. So when you meet somebody and their name starts with an X and ends with an X, it's like, good lord! Like
Who is this?
I think I met a kid named Isaacs. It was like X uh, Y X is Isaacs.
I do not understand.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's some. I mean, these days there's so many young kids getting pregnant that they name all their kids puppy names
Oh.
because they see a baby and they think that it's going to be small forever, so they name it things like Chloe. And it's like, okay, well, one day Chloe's going to be 70 years old, and
Name.
she's going to have to
Deal
like
with that.
deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, well, I gave both my kids like adult names, you know, because I knew one day that like the potential of being a 32-year-old man named Brandon. It's like when I think of Brandon, I think of what everybody else thinks of, and it's Beverly Hills 90210, and that's a teenage boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So almost certain my name came from that. So my mother's not the type to tell the truth anyway. So if it sounds good, she's like, yeah, sure. I named you after that guy.
Hmm.
She also, she's like me. She's a storyteller.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just get creative. Nothing wrong with that. It makes for good conversation,
Yeah. And like my name, my mom didn't even know she was pregnant with me until she was in labor.
You're kidding.
No,
How does that happen?
and she had her tubes tied as well, so she wasn't
Okay, hold on.
expecting.
She's having contractions and saying, what could that be?
Yeah, and then it got to the point where like she couldn't really walk, and so
Because
my
she's giving birth.
yeah,
Did it like,
or she wasn't giving birth.
it was coming?
Yes, and so they took her to the ER, did some tests. Like we're not sure what's going on, and
Ultrasound.
so
They do that first now.
the doctor was like, we're gonna do one more test, a pregnancy test. She's like, my tubes are tied. They did it, and he was like, yeah, you're pregnant. So
Congratulations.
yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible.
and so she was like, only so that she went to emergency C-section, all that jazz. And then they asked, or she's like, I only have like a minute or two to like think of your name, and so she just randomly thought of Kyron, and
That's
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, you could think about it a little longer, but like
exactly.
that might be one of those things where it's like your first instinct is always the best,
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
like even though she's probably on all kinds of drugs and medications and whatever, and it's probably anxiety and stress and
Shock.
shock,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's intense.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, they say first instinct is the best one. So the first thing she thought of that she really liked, that was what your name was
It's
supposed
just
to
like
be.
Kyron. I'm like,
That's dope.
yeah.
I don't know any other Chirons.
Yeah.
So what's the J in KJ?
James, my middle name.
Kyron James. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I like it.
And it's
Yeah.
carried through like my family. All the like males have James in it, and
Right.
so it's kind of sacred for me.
That's
Of
fair. See,
having
my
that.
daughter is the third in a row to have Anne.
Okay.
So
Okay.
both grandmothers, and so I'm sorry. So her grandmother and her great grandmothers
Awesome.
have Anne in their name. So
Awesome.
like it skipped one year, but I guess it usually does. There was
Okay.
just one hiccup in there somewhere where there wasn't an Anne. But yeah, lots of Anns. And then like I was named after my uncles. My middle names are my uncles' names.
Okay.
And then so like I got my first name and then I was named after both of my uncles. My brother, he got his first name, but his middle names are our grandfather's names.
Okay, I like
So
that.
it's like, hey, like you're getting grandpa's names. I ended up with the uncle's names. And then, like, I kind of did the same thing with my
Okay.
son. I named him after his uncle.
Okay.
And then the daughter, she was named after the grandmas. So
I
we
like
it's
that.
kind of a tradition that my mom started, but we did it too. Just
Okay.
it made sense to us. Plus, we found two really solid names. We really liked them. So,
So what was the process of getting the names? Like, how did y'all have a process?
well,
Like,
okay. So, like, there was a few ideas, and I wasn't even dead set on the first name. So, like, my son's name is Dallas Nathan Reed Bulmer.
okay, I like that.
We call him Reed because that's him. He is Reed Bulmer, right? But Dallas is my brother's name. Nathan was my first stage name in the
Ah,
wrestling
I
business.
like
So
that.
when I was doing backstage work and I was writing articles for Sooner World Class Wrestling,
Okay.
we would do like recaps of the event, or if there was like a big spot or something crazy that happened at the show that really could get some press,
Okay.
I would write like a 4 paragraph article describing what took place on the show. And my name as the staff writer, it would be like, here's your whole column. And then it would say staff writer, or SWCW staff writer Nathan Riot.
Ah, okay.
And I was a 3 Days Grace fan when I was in middle school. So
Okay.
Riot was from Let's Start a Riot. And if I was going to have entrance music, it would have been Let's Start a Riot at the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Really fun song. But again, that's the other hiccup to picking your stage name when you're 15,
Mm.
is if you pick a silly name like Drake Gallows and it sticks, then you're stuck with it for life.
Yeah.
Same thing with a silly name in your real life. If you name your kid Chloe, and
Yes.
I'm not a hater for Chloe's. It's the only one I can think of. But there's some kids out there. I mean, there's a kid in my son's daycare. His name is Rex.
Rex.
Like, dude got named after a dinosaur.
It's an interesting name.
Well, there's a couple other kids out there. One of them is named after a prison and doesn't know it. And then, well, actually, I think there's two of them that are both named after prison. There's one that's Riker, like Riker's Island,
Oh no.
and then there's some wrestling characters out there with the Riker name. That's fine, but
Not your kids.
they made
Yeah,
that up.
yeah,
Like they invented that, not
yeah.
their parents. And then anyway, so yeah, Dallas Nathan Reed. My wife and I both just really liked it. And I wanted my children to have an adult name that was also easy to spell. So like
I like that.
when he's in preschool, he's not going to have a 3 syllable name, or not going to have to worry about whether he can spell it or not.
Yeah.
Let this cat out. Go ahead, buddy. Bye-bye.
Yes.
We're going to be scratching on that door the whole time.
So how long did it take you to figure out?
Well, we had juggled some ideas. We had so like there was another name. I don't remember what it was, and I'm gonna struggle because he's 5 now, so I'm not gonna remember. But I was dead set on Dallas. I wanted to name my son after my brother. That was a big sentimental thing. My brother
Yeah.
was my hero. He was my best friend. He was, other than my roommates at the time, which were bad influences. I didn't have a father figure
Yeah.
for a good chunk of change in my life. So I wanted to just, not necessarily try to do something overly sentimental, or like to try and like get a pop from my family or anything like that. It was just like, my brother died very young. I loved him. Just an incredible amount of like affection between he and I. We were great friends.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always the case, but towards the end when we became adults, it was just like, God, I love that dude. Like, we took care of each other. And there were times when we were super young, when we were kind of independent, he took care of me. So,
Mm.
he was my hero. And there was a I don't know, just no real argument there. My wife was like, absolutely, she was down. And there was a little girl that she used to take care of.
Okay.
She, before she got into education, she was in childcare. Before she got into
Uh,
childcare, she was like a babysitter. So
okay.
she's always been
Working with
taking care of
children.
children, right?
Yeah.
So she had this sweet little girl that she just really, really liked. Her name was Edith. And I love the name because it reminds me of um, older women.
Yeah.
I
No. Yeah.
I
That was.
like I like names like Edith or Sophia, like a golden girl,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something that reminds me of, a grandma.
Yeah.
My grandmother's name is Susan, and I was real tempted to like suggest
Susan.
Susan, and I just knew that wouldn't happen. And anyway, um, we settled on Edith Avery Ann.
I really like that.
Avery, I cannot remember why I liked it so much, but it represents something. There's uh, some meaning to that word.
Okay.
It's something about strength and independence, and just a nice roll off the tongue
Yeah.
name that's not something that everybody has. And now it's just every time she gets in trouble, you just hear mom Avery.
Yeah.
You know, she's two.
Yeah.
It is what it is. She gonna get in trouble
Yep.
sometime.
Yep.
God,
So being like, so having,
if
um,
I get distracted, there's midget wrestlers on my TV.
having a son and a daughter.
Oh yeah, I got one of each.
Yeah. So
I don't have to have any more.
how do you because I know, like, for me, I would say if I had a son, I would like to do wrestling and moves on him and doing that. But how do you what do you play like do with your
I
daughter
just
per
body
se?
slam both of them.
Okay.
Honestly, no, like they love it. Um, they're getting these giant stuffed animals to wrestle with because
Okay.
so last year we got Reed like this really big stuffed animal, like
Okay.
stuffed bear. It's like a Christmas bear,
Yeah.
Valentine's Day bear, whatever, and he ripped the arms off of it. He beat the shit out of it. So they get one each, and they get superhero capes, and they get tag team titles. Those
Oh, okay.
kids Velcro titles for Christmas, right? Because he runs around the house and he's like, "Daddy, I'm gonna wrestle."
Mm.
And he's almost 5, and he's already got like a giant bucket of action figures,
Uh
and he's obsessed with wrestling. So like, if he's not playing with wrestlers, he wants to wrestle, and I get tired of getting the
yeah.
crap kicked out of me all the time. So I was like, kill the bear. So with new bears, new belts, they're gonna be set for a while. But yeah, man, like if they're like, "Hey, I want to wrestle," we got a king size bed. I'll just body slam them over and over and over again. And then eventually he's like, "No, you come down here," because he'll want to like drop elbows on me and shit.
uh
And I can tolerate it for a little while, but eventually I'm just like, dude, you're killing me. Like, like this shit hurts, dog.
yeah, really. So your son got the wrestling
He's
gene
had
then.
the bug since he was old enough to like enjoy
That's
wrestling.
awesome.
And like of course like you wouldn't have ever thought about it, but like we watch Monday wrestling tonight, like, or Monday Night Raw, we watch wrestling together. And every time it's on, he'll say, "Dad, where's Big Reed?" And Bronson Reed is actually like his favorite because like
Really?
just like anything else, he found something he could associate with.
Yeah, okay.
And like when he sees that dude, he sees kind of him.
Him, yeah,
So
okay.
he's like, "Oh, cool. There's a Reed on TV. Yeah." And he loves that shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. They love wrestling.
So
I
will you
almost hate it. I almost
so
hate it.
so will you help your son create his ring name, or are you gonna let him do
If it's terrible, I'll tell him
that?
no,
Okay.
If it sucks, I'm gonna be like, "Buddy, you got to do better than that." He just wants to be other people right now.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
he'll be like, "Dad, I'm King Kong." I'm like, "All right, King Kong, you got it." So right now he's just wanting to be everybody else that he thinks is cool. So that part's fine, you know.
Yeah.
King Kong is cool. So, but then there's other days where he wants to be Godzilla, and that's another thing. This dude is so cool because he's 4 years old, and I will go on record and say he has watched at least 30 Godzilla movies
Wow.
from start to finish. He will sit down and watch them with me.
Wow. That's impressive.
He likes the cool stuff. He likes Godzilla.
Okay.
He likes Ninja Turtles. He likes Transformers. Like,
Uh,
I don't have one of those kids that only wants to watch Paw Patrol.
mm-hmm.
He wants to see all the good stuff too. So it's like, and there's nothing wrong with Paw Patrol, but it's like, I can only watch it so much because it's the same thing
Over
every
and
time.
yep.
And I have a personal issue with Paw Patrol because they're like, "Oh my god, it's a fire. Call this 11-year-old boy and his pets." I hate it. I'm like, "Where's the fire department? Where's the police?
Yeah.
Where are the adults that are willing to help because you have all these helpless adults like you have a baker and a librarian that are like, "Oh my god, call Ryder." It kind of pisses me off. So I got heat with Paw Patrol,
Okay.
and that's why I'm kind of getting him away from it too, because I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, I would understand if each of these dogs went to their separate stations
Yeah.
and then came back to the pup tower, but it's like, nah, there's a fucking dinosaur, and we gotta go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's it. That's an 11-year-old kid and a bunch of dogs. What are you gonna do with all them dinosaurs?
That's a lot of heat over
It's an
there. Yeah.
irrational amount of heat because it doesn't make any sense for it to bother me as much as it does. And I don't even have a real case because I know it's a fucking TV show. But I had to turn it off, dude. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, no, we're gonna watch something else. And right now, like, the his two favorite movies, because I mean it's Christmas time right now. His two favorite movies are The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey one,
Okay. That's a
which
classic.
dude likes the cartoon too, but he's like, no, let's watch the other one.
That's a
And
classic.
I'm like, I can watch it, you know, maybe two times at the most a day,
Yeah.
but we'll get to the end and he'll ask me if we can crank it back so he can keep watching it. I'm
Really?
good with that. And then Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay. Also classics.
Well, so he wants to watch Deadpool, and I have to like, because I'm like, there's other Deadpools, we can check those out too, you know, like, but then I remember there's like this crazy like 4 minute long sex montage in Deadpool 1. So I'm
Yeah.
like, either we got to fast forward through that or we got to just stick to the other one, right? So
Yeah.
right now we're just playing Deadpool and Wolverine quite a
Okay.
bit. It's like, because then Deadpool 2 is good, but it's probably the weak link of the three,
Yeah.
you know, like it's not bad. I just didn't care for it as much as I did the other two,
Yeah.
you
No, I
know?
agree.
And once MCU gets their hands on things, they're going to do it their way no matter what. You
Mm.
know, like it doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it worse because the Deadpool stuff was good, but they're like, look, like all the things you couldn't do or couldn't get your hands on or weren't
We're
allowed to
gonna
do, we're
do
going
it.
to we're going to do them now. So that part's dope. I love having everything under one house, like under one roof. I really hope that like all the Sony stuff, like all the secondary heel character films that they're making. They've got like the Craven the Hunter, the Morbius,
Oh.
the um the Madam Web movie. So these are all Spider-Man villains, but they can't use Spider-Man. So instead they're making origin stories for these villains without
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. So it's like, okay, well maybe eventually they'll get to Spider-Man, but they won't.
Mm.
So if Marvel would, or whoever owns those Marvel properties would just give that back to the MCU so we could get everything under one umbrella, like then
Yeah.
it would all be able to get retconned and fixed. Because you're gonna
Yeah.
have, dude, MCU's, and I might go off on a tangent about that too, but MCU is in phase 5,
Okay.
which they did the Avengers stuff. Then they moved on to like the time travel and the multi-dimensional stuff. They're saying the next phase is going to be basically origin stuff for the X-Men. So all these properties they own, and then you got the Fantastic Four movie that takes
Yeah.
place and I think that takes place in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
So like that's going to be before everything we've seen so far,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
it might even take place on a different timeline. Everything's timelines now. So like if it takes place in a different timeline, then none of it matters. So if it doesn't matter, they can do whatever they want with it. But also, why are we doing it? And how are we going to get it to the point where it does matter?
Yeah.
So, but they, if man, they've been making movies for 20 years. They've made like 30 movies. There's 100 other movies they can make.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make them. You
Yeah.
know, it's just when and will I be alive to see it? Because I'm gonna watch it no matter what.
Yeah. And I feel like what you said, like with them making the origin movies and without and not able to have Spider-Man, I think those
Why do
movies
it?
kind of get they kind of get pushed to the back
Why do
burner
it?
for the audience
Yeah.
because we want to see Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, there's a way they just went a route that didn't make it necessary.
Hmm.
Like, but now you think about it, like I loved seeing Spider-Man and Iron Man in the same movie. I'm gonna love seeing Spider-Man with Daredevil. I'm gonna love seeing Spider-Man with Deadpool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love seeing Spider-Man with some other people that he might have like love interests with, or And then there's other bad guys that like haven't ever been seen in a live action film. Like
Mm.
there's a different character called the Hobgoblin
Okay.
who's like the Green Goblin but way fucking meaner,
Okay.
And that's Ned, which is like Peter Parker's best friend in the most recent three
Oh,
films.
okay.
Like, you know who Ned is.
Yeah.
You don't know who the Hobgoblin is because he's never even been seen in film. So that's a new villain that,
They
there
can.
there's a
Yeah.
great chance that might happen.
Really.
Well, shit, and then like they recast Tony Stark. you know, Robert Downey Jr. is gonna play Doc Doom now. That's cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully they find a way to make it good and everybody loves it.
Yeah. I think they
Well,
will.
there's people that hate that, which kind of took me by
Well.
surprise. It's the Russo brothers. They like Robert Downey Jr. He's done, but there's potential for him to do other things.
Yeah.
Put makeup on him. Make him look a little different. People don't have to go the route where they're just like, Tony, no, do
Yeah.
do 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 something else.
Yes.
Good actor doesn't mean he can't do two things.
Yeah.
Shit. Uh what's his name that just did all the Carnage movies?
Um.
Or not Carnage, Venom movies.
I know you're
The
talking
guy who
about.
plays Eddie Brock. He played
Yeah.
Bane and Batman. Like, why can't you be two heroes?
Yeah.
Why not? Michael Keaton. He was the Vulture and the Batman. Why not? I know that's DC and Marvel, but why not?
Yeah.
Fucking who cares? There's several people that have played more than one. Uh, God damn! He just dropped Henry Godwin on his head. I think he's done for the day.
Yep. Mm.
Um, even Chris Evans, man, he was the Human Torch, and then he ended up being Captain America.
Yeah.
Same umbrella. Whatever. Some of us got to wear a mask just to get through a show.
No.
Sometimes you got to work twice, and
Yep.
everybody enjoys it. I don't
Yep.
know, man. I think it's crazy that everybody gets so tribal about it, and they take it so personally when it's not what they would have wanted.
Mm.
Just try it, enjoy it. If you
Yeah.
don't enjoy it, just don't watch it again. You can give a review if you want, but no one's gonna read it.
Yeah.
you know. But hey, back to wrestling. Um, I have a question for you. I was wanting to ask you this the other day. What do you think is like the biggest hurdle you've had to jump over when preparing a match? Like, have you ever had to get in there with someone who wasn't really cooperative with you? Because I can tell you one of mine is I've had to wrestle people that are deaf.
Okay.
I've been in the ring with guys who are almost nonverbal, but they're so deaf that even when they speak, it's, quite hard to understand. So you have to read lips and also kind of guess what some of their sign language is because they're kind of trying to multitask
Yeah.
because they're used to signing while they speak. And then you have a guy like me who's trying to create his own sign language so that he'll understand.
Yeah.
that's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
But then it ends up being really pleasant because if you work with someone with, you know, a disability or a difference, it can be almost, more rewarding when it's over. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something like a deaf guy, but like, have you put together a match where you had a real like hard time putting it together because like the person you were planning the match with was being kind of like difficult or like didn't want to compromise on things? Like, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the most difficult uh, things that I came across would be where we're like planning the match, and I'm trying to persuade my ideas and
Mm,
give my ideas, and they're not really having it. And like, no, this is what we're gonna do.
not interested
Yeah,
in
not
what you have to
interested.
say.
And so, for me, I think that's when you start losing interest in the
Mm.
match that you're having because you're like, well,
If I don't
uh,
get to participate,
yeah,
why am I here?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've dealt with that before too.
And so, but you still go out there and you want to give the fans the best show.
Well, yeah, and it's hard too when you're, because I know you and I both personally have dealt with anxiety.
Yes,
So
yes,
like if you don't feel like it's gonna go well, it makes you anxious, and then like
yeah,
the only thing you can do is look at the clock. You know it's getting closer and
yes,
closer,
yep.
and then like when you're in the ring, like how do you handle that? Do you kind of ride it out, or do
Yeah,
you?
I ride it out, and for me, I've always like when you first give me that opportunity to get in the ring in front of people, um, I've kind of just like tuned everything out.
Mm,
And so I'm just tunnel vision on me and whoever I'm in the ring. I don't really
do
see
I
much
say, do
like,
you get so focused on the match that you kind of don't acknowledge the people
yeah,
sometimes?
yeah,
See, that's a hard thing to
yeah,
break, and I remember those days where it felt like the whole room was a blur.
yeah,
Like I felt
yeah,
like I was in a fucking cloudy bubble.
yes.
Yeah,
And then like,
it's interesting.
and then
I
when I
don't.
look at videos of my wrestling match and I see that maybe I interacted with a wrestler or I did something, I'm like, I didn't remember doing that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I'm trying to work on that as
Hmm.
turning heel. I think that's important for me to really interact and engage with the audience.
What's really fun is when you get so comfortable, because it happens, man. Because like this is your third year,
Yep.
this is my 16th year, and that's not a flex or anything because we're in the same show. We're equals as far as I'm concerned. I say that a lot. Like when people get kind of starstruck around names and shit, and I'm like, they came to us, they're working for us.
Yeah.
Like they work for me today,
Yes, sir.
so they know who's in charge, and they don't care. So you shouldn't care either. Just thank them for the house. These people came to see them, and we get to perform in front of them because they're here.
Yeah.
At that point, that's all they want to. They don't even have to hear that, but they don't want to hear any more than that. Thank
Yeah.
you for the house is enough.
Yeah.
After that, don't pester them.
Yeah.
Just like they have shit to get ready for too. Like, because those guys might have anxiety too. You never know. Like all the struggles you
Yeah.
have. Imagine that same struggle in front of 20,000 people for years, and then they get to relax and come do a show in front of 200 people, and then it's like, oh damn, I was fine until this guy came over here and started stressing me out, right?
Yeah.
No, but whenever I was preparing my matches and I would think about all the spots I wanted to do, or like, oh, you'll go from here to there, and the guy would say, okay, but how am I going to get into this position? And I'd say, what do you mean? And he'd be like, well, you're telling me you're going to bounce me from this buckle to that buckle, and then you need me hunched over, elbows on my knees, and you need me to kind of be bent over so that you can kind of step in and DDT me because like I just don't understand why I'm hunched over so much. I said, well, when you hit that fucking buckle, take 2 steps forward and just lean over.
Mm.
What do you mean lean over? I'm like, brother, quit making this damn complicated. Like, I don't have to kick you in the gut every time for you to bend the fuck over. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need help tying your shoelaces, do you? Just bend over. Where am I supposed to be? In the corner. Well, how am I going to get there? And I just go, walk. Like, walk, Bubba. Like, if we don't have to plan every single step You know you need to. It's 3 steps to get across that ring.
Yes.
Just take those steps, dude.
And
And that.
I want to
Yeah,
add
go
to
ahead.
that. That's one thing I really took from you. Um, the conversations you had with me. I remember my first match with Derek James, and I told you like my struggles a
Hmm.
little bit with that.
Derek
Just
likes to
of
do a lot of shit.
yeah, and just memorizing the stuff. And you told me keep it easy, 3 steps,
Dumb it down.
and
Do less.
I carry that with me, and it's helped me
Well,
through my matches.
yesterday, it's a tag team match. It's 20 minutes, and you know they ask, like what are we doing? And I said, superplex is the finish. They said, what else are we gonna do? I said, just get your heat. What do you mean by that? What I mean by that is we have 20 minutes. That's 4 guys. That means 5 minutes apiece to do whatever the heck we
Mm,
want. I do the math. If I'm gonna shine, sure. If I'm not, they better be getting heat so that I can sell. And
yeah.
then when I do sell, I can get the sympathy. If they don't know what to do, man, we'll grab a chin lock. Because here's the thing, you're going to get more heat as a bad guy by doing chin locks and holds and
Mm,
running your mouth than you will doing flashy shit or trying to do 100 spots. It's not about doing 30 things, it's about doing one thing that works. If you can do one thing and it works the whole time, then they're going to boo you the whole time. If it doesn't work, do something else. But yeah, and I hate just constantly throwing that year out there, but I'm like, I've done this since '07, which I don't think that's a very long time, to be completely honest with you. It feels like it was just yesterday.
yeah.
Physically it hurts, but like it feels like I just started. It feels like I just did all this shit. Like
Yeah.
I still have very clear memories of my training and all the things that I did when I got started. But like I also have clear memories of all the time I've spent with you guys trying to help get you guys warmed up and
Yeah.
ready to
Yes,
go too.
sir.
But like it's always going to come back to less is more, because when you watch a very simple film, like I'm going to give an example, what I consider to be a very simple film. We said The Grinch earlier,
Yeah.
right? It's a 3 act structure. The beginning, he hates the town, so he fucks with the town. The second, they try to make amends with him, or the girl does anyway, by inviting him down so that they can make peace. And
Yes.
then the mayor fucks with him, so he tears the town to pieces. And then the third act is he gets his revenge and he steals all their shit. But he realizes at the end of the day, it's not about the shit they took. It's about there's one guy. Honestly, there was one guy that was fucking with him, but all these other people are good people, and it wasn't their fucking problem. So he gets remorseful and he cares about this girl who took the time to care about
Him.
him.
Yeah.
Not all people are bad, just some people are. And then he gives all the shit back. It's fuck you, fuck you. Well, maybe not fuck you. Maybe I should have, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Okay, well, I'm sorry. That can be the same thing as pro wrestling match, a 3 act
Mm.
structure. How's the match start? Fuck you. How's the match at the middle? Fuck you. How's the match at the end? Big happy payoff. Just something that the fans can enjoy and that you can send them home in a good mood with smiles on their faces.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not difficult. So when I say at the beginning, we'll get our shine, that doesn't mean we're going to do a bunch of moves and we're going to kick your ass. That means I'm going to do what gets me over. And that might be mic work. That might be, comedy spots. That might be,
Mm.
that might be me getting my shine in. It might be clotheslines and drop kicks for everybody. But it also might just mean I'm going to go outside and I'm going to shake hands with people in the front row and I'm going to get a USA chant going. I'm going to pretend to be Hacksaw Jim Duggan for the day. Duggan don't do shit. He stands on the fucking corner, sticks his tongue out, puts his thumb in the air, and says
No.
USA.
Yeah. Yep.
And the dude's over. Everybody likes Hacksaw Jim
Yeah.
Duggan, right? I can't think of anybody who doesn't.
No. Really.
you
No.
know,
Really.
just because he's fun. So just have fun.
Yeah.
And do all that, and then eventually one of the bad guys makes a smart decision, they don't have to do something impactful. They don't have to do something that's like ultra violent or mean. They can just be smart and quick witted,
Mm.
whether it be a low bridge, knock the guy out the fucking ring, create some separation. He takes a big dump out on the floor, so he's selling real big, and then you can catch your breath as a bad guy. You go out there, and then throw him back in, get you a clean tag. Referee sees everything you're fucking doing. You drag that motherfucker by both legs back to your corner, and then you just kick his fucking ass for 10 straight minutes. And then you let him get a comeback.
I like that.
Dude,
'Cause-
well, what are we going to do? How are we going to kick his ass? You're going to use your fist, you're going to use your feet, and you're going to run your fucking mouths the whole time. Just kick his ass. And some people just, they feel like, well, we need to do something there. So do it, but improvise.
mm,
It's
yeah.
reacting, not acting. You don't have a script. React to what's going on around you and do things that come to you organically that seem like they would work.
Yes. Yes.
He's in a good position for me to choke him. I'm going to choke him. Because that's the thing. When you have a good baby face, they'll feed for you. If he's on his hands and knees crawling to the rope, he'll make it perfect so that you can just drape your leg over his fucking back and choke him. If you have a good baby face, he will feed to your manager without making it look like he's crawling straight to him, but he will feed to your manager so that he can let that manager do something to him. Choke
Yeah.
him, hit him, whatever. He will always feed where he's supposed to. And that's what makes a good baby face is they put themselves in those positions to get sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
Sympathy is what you want. And you guys will figure that out. You're a new tag team and you're good heels and you don't necessarily need a manager because Frankie can talk.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah. He's a
talk.
he's a good talker.
And as long as you can get that heat and you guys don't try to get too flashy, that's what gets you pops. That's what gets you admiration. You don't want admiration. You want people to hate you.
Yes.
So as long as they hate you, you've done your jobs. Doesn't matter how good the match is. Like in my match, I don't know what I did in my match other than a few clotheslines and a superplex. I know I did a drop kick at
Yeah.
one point. I did a pretty smooth drop
Yeah.
kick.
No.
It
That
felt good.
it was. And then you did your
I
the
think I did
one leg.
the mafia
Yeah.
kick.
That
Yeah.
one. That one
So
was
the
really
cartwheel
good.
drop kick, that one's always fun, but that mafia kick, that one's always really pretty. I love that fucking
And
move.
you know it. It went. It went really,
Cuz like
really
what I
well.
like, I don't know how I do it, and I'm not trying to just like compliment myself. I don't know how I do it, but somehow I feel like I get stopped in midair and then I just push the guy. It's like, like get away,
You're still
right?
in the air.
Yeah. And then after he bumps, I usually come down second, and that hurts because he's pushed the boards down. He hit the ring first, right? And then I come and hit it, and the boards are coming back up, and it's like, fuck you.
Ah.
Now that's what's beautiful about that superplex too. Like uh Parka, he said that superplex sucked. And I said, yeah. I said, it's a good thing we hit the boards at the same time. Problem was, when we hit the boards at the same time, the board popped up. So one
Oh.
of them sitting on top of this one, just like this. And I've got to take a face bump on it because the finish is a double bulldog. And I go face first on that board and I pop it back down. And I'm just like, yeah, that was on my chin.
Yeah. Thanks.
Not mad about it, but I'd rather that be a me than someone who's not exactly like been in that situation
Yeah.
before because they don't know how to do it, or if they, like, oh, maybe they'd panic and call an audible last second, like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, and then you have confusion and disruption between five people in the ring,
Yeah.
going, what the hell's going on? No, but Will took care of me, so that was good. I continue my conversation with KJ Gold in part 2 of Crow's Nest Commentaries.